Welcome back to the Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. He's Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix. Our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage continues from Las Vegas. Brought to you by Synergenics and Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds. And always fun catching up with an old friend. Daryl Johnston, the Moose, Cowboys Super Bowl champion. Former GM of the Commanders. Now you're running the UFL. At least we have spring football in San Antonio.
Exactly. There's a number of voices in my life, and yours is one of the more distinctive ones. Every time I hear it, it's like, I think San Antonio right away. So,
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a great thing.
Okay,
it's a great thing. I know. I am so happy to be back into San Antonio with something that we are doing. I was envious of the XFL having San Antonio. So the fact that the merger has come together and San Antonio is going to be a part of the UFL family, for me, means more than a lot of the other markets. Birmingham has become special to me the same way that San Antonio was special to me in the Alliance of American Football. So I am over the moon to be working again with San Antonio.
Daryl, what was the decision-making process in having the two leagues merged together the way you did?
I think the big thing was for spring football to be sustainable, we had to come together. We couldn't stand toe-to-toe and fight each other. One of us was going to lose. It didn't make sense to do. Why not come? And then the question was, how do we come together? And that's been the hard part, because we have great people that are a part of the UFL, but we lost a lot of great people that are not a part of the UFL. And that's players that are trying to find a way back into the league, coaches that are no longer a part of the teams that are a part of the new league, athletic training, strength and performance, video, marketing, sales. I mean, it's across the board. And that's the one big thing I've learned here. I'm always football, but when you get into it, how many different components really kind of make up what football is and how many great people there are that support you. I told the Dallas Cowboys this. I said, you used to travel? And I was like, everything's taken care of. This is amazing. What goes on behind that curtain to make sure that everything is smooth is unbelievable. And so I have a newfound respect for everybody that supports what we did as players and a team when we traveled, when we went to the stadium. It's a million moving parts.
Well, and I can also see with the leagues coming together. I know going back to when we were working together with the Alliance and people would talk about quarterback play. So, well, yeah, but look at the line play. It's hard finding offensive linemen. It kind of starts there. So with the two leagues coming together as one, the talent pool is going to be far better, which should create more quality football.
Absolutely. Instead of having 800 players in two different leagues, we've got 400 players. And then the mechanisms we put in place to get that dispersal out, to allow our teams that survived the merger to go back to the teams that didn't and give those players another opportunity. Initially, it was the USFL pulling from the USFL franchises onto their roster and the XFL doing the same thing. The second component had us actually crossing over if we wanted to, or just coming in and supplementary, picking up a few more after you had a time to evaluate for a little bit longer. So we had a couple of teams that crossed over. Memphis was probably the most aggressive team on our side. And I would say DC was probably the most aggressive team on the XFL side. So I'm interested to see how that works out for everybody.
Are there any conversations at all with the NFL and partnering in some former fashion with those guys?
Well, they worked with both of us last season. They had to support both of us in what we were doing. And when we talk about player safety and rules and some of the technology that's there, they were working with both leagues. I think now that there's only one league, they can commit more into doing a deeper dive into some of the things that they want to look at. We are going to be the USFL kickoff. It's something that we drew a line in the sand on. I respected the kickoff that we did in the XFL in 2020, but I'm more traditional. I want to see movement at the kick. I didn't like the stationary component. I understood it for player safety. There's talk about the NFL really wanting to just get rid of the kickoff. We still feel that it's a position of value. Cavante Turpin has taken an opportunity as a kick returner and taken that to the NFL and become a part of the Dallas Cowboy offense, not just special teams, but offense. And that door was open through the ability to return kicks. The NFL has a Pro Bowl position as a kickoff returner. If we're getting rid of kickoffs, we need to get rid of the kickoff returner or change it to a punt returner. Mm-hmm. We just feel that it's a value position. When I grew up watching football and Billy White Shoes Johnson and all the great returners that were in the league at that time, it's one of the more exciting plays of the game. And it's a play that can flip the entire game when you talk about momentum. So it was something that we're really adamant about. And I know it's a big thing that the NFL wants to look at, so we'll see what they think about that. But I think they're going to have their eyes on not only our rules and some of the things we do special teams-wise, but the technology. What happened at the University of Michigan when they violated the rules. I think everybody's going to look at that at the collegiate level of how do we share film better, make sure that we don't have people that are attending games, scouting in real time. The NCAA allowed video on the sidelines at their bowl games this year, which is something that was exclusive in the spring leagues. And for us in the USFL through DV Sport, it was wireless. And some of the greatest moments that we had last year when you talk about TV production is Brock Heward talking with Skip Holtz and Alex Magoo as they're watching video on the sideline and dissecting a play and anticipating what the adjustment's going to be in the second half. So we're bringing technology onto the field that the NFL should already have, but has been hesitant to embrace. So hopefully we answer all the questions that they have there.
The Moose, Daryl Johnston, joining us here on the Blitz, 3-time Super Bowl champ with the Dallas Cowboys, the UFL head of football operations. That means you're the boss. You make the ultimate decision. When you guys get in a room and figure out what we're going to do, what we're not, it's your call.
It's my call, but I lean on everybody that's in that room with me. I don't have all the answers, and I've got a ton of experience around me. Jim Popp is a guy that I've met during my time at the USFL. Jim Popp was a general manager in the CFL when he was 26. He's won 5 Grey Cups. Why he was never a GM in the NFL, I don't know. Doug Whaley was, a longtime executive in the NFL, general manager with the Buffalo Bills. Russ Giglio is a guy that worked with us in the Alliance, worked with him in the XFL in 2020. He was at Park Avenue for a number of years. He's worked in officiating and data and analytics. We've got great football minds. I got Russ Brandon. Russ Brandon was team president of the Bills for a number of years. Not only ran the Bills, but also ran the Sabres for a while. So he's got the business acumen, above everything else. So when we sit in a room and we have to make a decision, we get some tremendous input. So it's easy for us to come to a consensus. And there's only been a few occasions where we really felt like we weren't, all on the same page. And those have been few and far between. So I think we all see it the same way. We want to do it the same way. And this is our one chance to really put this league on a strong foundation, because we all do believe this league is going to be around for a long time.
All right, Daryl, we introduce you as Super Bowl champion. It's been a long time since the Dallas Cowboys are able to say that. What do you think about the current state of the team? They had a lot of talent this year. It just didn't come together. Is there a quick fix? Do you have any answers for that?
Yeah, a lot of times the most talented team isn't the best team. We see that a lot of times. There's a lot of intangibles that create that opportunity to win a Super Bowl. That's why it's so important when you have that opportunity, you got to cash in on it, because it may not ever come back. Dan Marino went to the Super Bowl his rookie year and never went back again. It's important to maximize that. And I think one of the things is, you'll hear Jalen Hurts say it a lot: keep the main thing the main thing. Does Dallas know what the main thing is? The organization. Is it football? Is it the brand? What is the main thing? What are we trying to keep the main thing the main thing? When we were there, the main thing was football. And everybody knew the main thing was football. And one of the things that I've shared with a lot of people here today on Radio Row is when I watched the Dallas Green Bay game and I saw Jair Alexander shove CeeDee Lamb and him not respond, I knew that they were not in the right frame of mind to have success that day. Because can you imagine anybody shoving Michael Irvin in the divisional round and something not happening? When we walked onto the field in our first NFC Championship game in San Francisco, our secondary was in an all-out war with the wide receivers of the San Francisco 49ers. That was pregame. That was the emotion that group brought. They were uber talented, but they were also competitive as any group I've ever been part of. And that's what I think is missing from not just Dallas. I think that attitude, as the league struggles with the individual branding component created by social media and all these platforms that these guys can get on, how do you keep the main thing the main thing?
How does a team as a whole, because I was at that game in the stadium against Green Bay, everybody was flat. The offense wasn't very good. The defense wasn't very good. Green Bay took the crowd out of it early. I know it was cold outside, but they're playing indoors. But how does an entire football team in a playoff game come out flat?
I don't know. I don't know. We had those games even with our great teams, but they weren't in the playoffs. We were 8-1, and we got beat at home by the 2-7 Los Angeles Rams. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how we played that poorly. We went out to the championship game in San Francisco after winning back-to-back Super Bowls and played the worst 6 minutes of football to open that game that group ever played. The remaining 54 was pretty good, but the first 6 put us behind by 21 points, and we just couldn't get out of that hole. But they were not good the entire game. They were very inconsistent the entire game. They never got into a rhythm the entire game, and that was the biggest mystery for me.
You know, Daryl, when you bring that up, and I think it's interesting, and everybody wants to blame Mike McCarthy for that, for not having his team ready to play. But as a professional football player, isn't a lot of that responsibility on you?
Yeah, I wanted Mike McCarthy fired too. I mean, he missed so many tackles. He had several fumbles. He had a number of drops. He threw a couple interceptions. I know he missed at least 4 assignments. I mean, it was like, really? Coach McCarthy's fault? Your best players have to play their best football in the biggest moments. And Dallas's best players did not play their best football in the biggest moment. Dak, CD, Micah, you can go down the list. All the guys that this franchise is known about did not play their best football that day. And I think the emphasis and the spotlight got put onto the offense. The defense did not support. They didn't have 1 sack against Green Bay that day.
The defense was awful. I know Dak gets a lot of blame, and he wasn't great in that first half, but that defense was awful. But going back to what you said a minute ago as we visit with Daryl Johnston here on the Blitz, it was about winning. It was about, you understood the mission. It was about football when you were part of those championship Cowboy teams with Jimmy Johnson. Dak Prescott in his contract situation. Will Jerry Jones and the Cowboys make a winning decision or a business decision?
You got to find out what the difference in those two is. What is the winning decision? Dak has had his opportunities to step through the moment and become the back of the Dallas Cowboys franchise. Tony Romo had a number of opportunities to do that. They were the number 1 team going into the playoffs on a number of occasions and got beat. Tony Romo had opportunities to step into the Troy Aikman or the Roger Staubach status for the Dallas Cowboys and never did. I really thought Dak was going to do it last year in San Francisco after the way they played against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady in the first round of the playoffs. It's 17-9. He's going to take him down the field. They're going to go for 2 and make it. They're going to go to overtime. They're going to find a way to win this. And that's going to shoot Dak Prescott on the trajectory to be this generation's Troy Aikman, Roger Staubach for this franchise. And it didn't happen. And it didn't happen again this year. So if keeping the main thing is about winning championship football, then they have a hard decision to make.
Well, yeah, I find that interesting because obviously salary cap's a big part of the NFL. Cowboys would take a big hit. I mean, the fact that they don't have a plan B, Daryl, is that a problem? Is that a Jerry Jones problem?
I think you always have to have a plan B when you talk about the quarterback position because it's such an important position. You don't want to be there before you have to, but hopefully you've got something that you just haven't shared publicly. We know what we want to do if we can't do this, but you've got to make a decision because they have Micah Parsons coming up. They have some big contracts coming up. And let me tell you, you load up your salary cap into 4 or 5 positions, you will not be a great team because you're not going to be able to find that. As good as Will McClay has been with the draft the last few years, that's going to be key to keep those guys on their rookie contracts. But when you consolidate your cap into 4, 5, 6 players and expect to be able to pick up the slack on bargain deals in free agency and rookie players, you're not setting your team up for success.
The Moose, Daryl Johnston, here on the Blitz. He'll be back in San Antonio for a San Antonio Brahmas kickoff event on Sunday, February 18th with Wade Phillips. I'm going to host that thing. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
It's great having you back doing football things in San Antonio, my friend.
Looking forward to it.
AA Best Bail Bonds. Big game coverage live from Las Vegas. Powered by Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, Synergenics, and 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.